Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. I still remember how the cold felt on my teeth that night. That weird, biting kind of cold that sneaks in under your jacket and sets up camp in your bones. We'd been driving back roads for almost an hour, following paper directions someone scribbled in pencil on a folded map. Dalton kept flipping it over like he expected it to suddenly make sense from a new angle. Man, if this thing takes us into another ditch, he muttered, I'm suing Arkansas. Mercer didn't even look up. You can't sue a state. Watch me. I didn't say anything. I was too busy watching the tree line. The Ozarks at night don't look like regular woods. They look like something painted too dark, like the shadows decide what you get to see and what you don't. The truck's high beams only carved out a narrow tunnel through it, and everything outside that tunnel felt aware. We made it to the first farmhouse around 9. Big place, older, the kind of house built before insulation was invented. A single floodlight hung over the porch, buzzing with a dying filament. Someone had nailed 2 more to the frame, like the family was trying to keep the darkness pushed back with cheap hardware store bulbs. The weird part, the front door was wide open, and the house was empty. Looks like they left in a hurry, Mercer said. His voice was quiet, almost respectful. Dalton kicked at a boot lying just inside the doorway. Wonder how bad something's gotta be to make a guy leave without these. Inside, it smelled like cold stew and fear, really. You can smell fear when it hangs in a place long enough. That stale, heavy air people leave when they're panicking. The table still had plates on it. 1 chair, knocked over. No sign of a struggle, but no sign of calm either. I went out back to check the barn. That's when things started to feel wrong. The cattle pen was empty except for 2 bodies. No blood trail leading up to them. No tracks in the dirt. Just bodies. Both torn open the same way, chest cavities split wide, organs moved around like someone was looking for something and didn't care what got damaged in the process. I squatted beside the first one. The ribs were cracked outward, splintered with obscene force. Why didn't it eat them? Why tear something apart and leave it? Luke, Dalton called softly from behind me. Look at this tree. I walked over. A big oak sat maybe 20 feet from the barn. At first I thought someone had rammed a tractor into it. The trunk was split, but not sideways. Bent outward, like something inside the tree had pushed through it and exploded out the back. Mercer measured the angle with his hand. Whatever did this wasn't climbing. It was forcing. Dalton swallowed. Yeah, so cool. Great start to the trip. We checked the neighboring farmhouses one by one. Same story every time. Lights on, doors open, no people, and an eerie, unnatural silence that made you feel like talking too loud would wake something up. The second house had claw marks on the siding, high up, chest level for something 9 feet tall. Inside, the living room window had been shattered from the outside in, but nothing was taken, no valuables moved, no animals inside. Just a cold couch, a quilt on the floor, and a mug tipped over like someone ran in the middle of a sip. We moved to the third farmhouse as the temperature dropped. My breath looked like smoke in the flashlight beam. Dalton's did too, but he kept blowing air out like he was trying to make a chimney. "Feels like we're being herded," he said, "like it's leading us somewhere." Mercer didn't answer right away. He just kept scanning. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. "It's not leading us. It's circling us." I didn't want to admit it, but he was right. The woods felt reactive. Like every time we stepped forward, something stepped back, just out of sight. Then we heard it. Not a howl. Not even close. It was a sound that climbed up out of the earth like a horn being dragged across metal. Long, scraping and broken at the end, like something tried to speak and failed. It rolled through the valley and bounced off the hills. My chest shook with it. Dalton whispered, "That wasn't human, right?" Mercer just tightened the strap on his rifle. We reached the farmhouse with the collapsed roof around midnight. Snow had gathered on one side of the structure. The rest of it looked like someone had sat on it. A big someone. The walls bulged outward. Every window was shattered. The front steps were cracked in half. Inside, something shifted. Something heavy. I froze. Dalton reached for his flashlight. Mercer touched my shoulder, stopping me from stepping forward. The floorboards creaked, then stilled. We edged back toward the open doorway. That's when the entire house shuddered. Dust rained from the rafters. The kind of thud you feel in your joints, not just your ears, hit the wall nearest us. Something had landed outside. Something big. Mercer's voice was barely a breath. "Nobody move." I held my breath. Dalton did too. The truck was 50 yards away, too far to sprint without making noise. Then came the sniffing. Slow, heavy, wet, breaths dragging across the cracks in the wall, like whatever was out there was trying to figure out exactly where we were inside the house. My heart hammered hard enough that I was scared it would give me away. And that's when I realized something awful. The sniffing wasn't coming from the door. It was coming from above us. Right over our heads, something was standing on the roof. And it was leaning down, smelling through the gaps in the collapse, like it already knew our names. The roof groaned above us like it was trying to hold its breath. I could hear the weight shift, slow, deliberate, the boards bending just enough that I pictured nails crawling their way up out of the wood. Every sound in that house suddenly felt like it belonged to the thing standing on top of it. Don't breathe. Don't move. The sniffing dragged over us again, wet, thick, almost thoughtful. I swear it paused above each of us like it could tell the difference. Dalton's boot slipped a little on broken plaster, and I felt him tense beside me. Muscles wound so tight he probably could have snapped the flashlight in half. The thing above us exhaled. A deep, heavy rush of air that made dust roll down in sheets. Then the weight shifted, once, twice, and the whole left half of the roof sagged. Mercer's voice barely existed when he whispered, "We need to go. Now." We moved together, slow and low, toward the back door. I kept expecting a claw to punch through the ceiling, or worse, some long arm to reach straight down into the dark and drag one of us up. But it didn't. It just tracked us, every step, like it could feel the floor changing under our boots. When we slipped out the back, the cold hit me so hard it burned. My breath came out in a cloud that felt way too bright in the dark. Dalton yanked me behind a fallen beam as the roof above us cracked, loud enough to echo through the valley. Then we saw it, the silhouette on the roof line, massive, wrong in its proportions. Not crouched like a cat or standing like a man, something in between, arms too long, neck jutting forward, horns curved like broken limbs. It didn't howl, didn't shriek, it just shifted its weight, as if deciding whether we were worth the jump. Mercer touched my arm. "Move." We bolted toward the next farmhouse, boots hammering frozen ground, breath tearing out in thin white ribbons. I kept waiting for the sound of claws behind us, or the roof giving way. But what I heard instead was terrifying in a different way. Nothing. It didn't chase. It was letting us run. We reached the next house, a small two-story place with a sagging porch and windows fogged on the inside, like someone had been breathing against them. Dalton pushed the door open, and the first thing that hit me was the smell of old smoke. Someone had used the fireplace not long ago, maybe hours. Inside was a mess of blankets, a tipped-over candle, and a coat on the floor. No people, not even a note. "It's clearing houses," Mercer whispered, "one at a time. Forced entries. Patterned radius." "Why?" Dalton asked. Mercer didn't answer. He just kept looking around like the answer should be written somewhere on the wallpaper. We barricaded ourselves upstairs, door frame braced with an old dresser, windows blocked with a mattress. Dalton took first watch by the stairwell, while Mercer and I listened to the house adjust around us. Old wood always talks in the cold, but this felt different. The groans were spaced out, like something outside was walking tight circles around the place, and the boards were reacting to the pressure. Hours passed. The wind picked up. The boards creaked overhead. Dalton kept checking the hall even when it was Mercer's turn to watch, like he didn't trust the air behind him. Then the thing returned. It started with a soft thud, just enough to vibrate the nails in the wall. Another, then another, each one closer to the front of the house. I crawled to the far window and eased the corner of the mattress back an inch. Outside, the silhouette moved along the porch. Slow, measured, sniffing at the window seams like it was reading us through scent. Dalton whispered, "Should we shoot it?" "No," I hissed. "Not yet. Bullets weren't gonna cut it, not with something that size." Its arms alone looked thick enough that they could have been used to drag a truck uphill. It tapped the window frame once with a claw, a gentle tap, the kind a parent makes on a door when checking on a sleeping kid. Then it walked around the side of the house. Boards groaned as it pressed its weight along the exterior. Something on the roof shifted next, like it climbed without effort, and snow slid in sheets past the window as its shadow crossed overhead. I held my breath. Dalton actually mouthed a prayer. Mercer froze like he was trying to become part of the wall. For almost 10 minutes, the house didn't make a sound. My heartbeat was the loudest thing in the room. Even the wind seemed scared to move. When the roof finally creaked again, it wasn't from weight. It was the creature leaving. Claws scraped once across the shingles. Then silence. We waited another 5 minutes before moving, 10 before speaking. When Mercer finally risked a look outside, he went still in that way he gets when something isn't right. "What?" I whispered. He pointed at the property line. Fence half collapsed, snow disturbed. "It wasn't hunting us," he said softly. "Not like prey. This thing's searching." "For what?" Dalton asked. Mercer didn't blink. "Something inside these houses." That's when the floor under us shuddered. Not violently, just once, like something huge had bumped the foundation from outside. We looked out again, and there it was, standing on top of the barn, across the field, perfectly still, like a shadow pulled up from the ground and given shape. Its eyes glowed coal red. Its horn scraped against the corrugated metal roof as it lifted its head. Snow was melting around its feet from the heat rolling off it. Dalton whispered, "Why doesn't it come down?" Mercer's reply came after a beat, too quiet for comfort, "Because it's waiting for something." I felt the truth settle in my gut, heavy and cold. It's not hunting animals anymore. The howler lifted its head toward us, like it heard the thought. Then it stepped backward and vanished down the far side of the barn without making a single sound. If there's one thing I've learned doing this job, it's that monsters don't just show themselves. They force you to understand them first. Understand the pattern, the terrain, the rhythm they move in. You screw that up, and you die with your boots facing the wrong way. By sunrise the next morning, the howler had cleared an entire row of farmhouses, not destroyed them all, cleared them, pulled open doors, flipped mattresses, knocked down walls, shredded insulation, but never took anything. Never ate anything. Dalton paced the kitchen of the house we'd crashed in. "Feels like it's looking for a person." Mercer shook his head. "Or something that smells like one." We didn't have time to debate it. The barn roof where we saw it the night before had fresh claw trenches cut deep into the metal. Snow around the barn was melted in perfect arcs. "Heat signature?" Dalton asked. "More like friction," Mercer murmured. "It moves too fast for the air around it to keep temperature." I didn't love that idea, so I changed the subject. "We end this today." Dalton blew into his hands. "Tell me we've got a plan. 'Cause I'm not ending my 23rd year as Monster Chow." Mercer pointed toward the back fields. "Old grain silo, big enough, weak enough. There's diesel tanks by the busted tractor shed, and the thing circles structures systematically. That's something we can use." I felt the idea snap into place. clean and awful, a trap, a confined kill zone. We needed fire. We needed weight. We needed a place where the thing's speed and size turned against it. The silo was perfect. We worked in silence. Cold, bitter, bite-your-knuckles silence. Mercer siphoned diesel from the tank into metal buckets and sloshed it into long trenches around the silo's base. Dalton and I dug out collapsed support beams, thick, rusted steel that we rigged with old cable and a manual cutter line. The plan was crude. Lure the Howler into circling the silo. Force it inward with fire. Drop the frame. Use what we had left to finish the job. No tech, no surveillance, just 3 men, a freezing morning, and a monster that already proved smarter than it needed to be. Dalton kicked at the snow. You sure this will hold it? No, I said, but we're out of houses. That shut him up. Mercer checked the line tension. Once you pull this, the whole front half comes down. Don't hesitate. My stomach tightened. I won't. Don't think, just do it when it's time. We didn't need to find the Howler. It found us. Dalton jogged through the field, waving his arms, flashlight bouncing against his chest like a strobe. Hey, you overgrown demon goat. You want me? Come get me. Dalton, I hissed. Relax, I'm improvising. The valley answered with a low, pulsing moan that vibrated through my ribs. Snow fell off a nearby branch like something invisible brushed past it. I scanned the tree line. Branches shivered, then stilled. Then, about 50 yards away, the entire cedar line rippled like something massive slipped between the trunks without breaking a single one. Dalton's face drained of blood. Oh, hell. The Howler dropped behind him like it fell from the sky. No warning, no noise, just impact. A crater in the snow, dirt flying, Dalton thrown forward by the shock wave of air. Move, I screamed. He didn't have to be told twice. He sprinted full tilt toward the silo, boots slipping, arms pumping, breath coming out in terrified white bursts. The Howler followed. God, the speed of it. It didn't run like an animal. It surged, long arms digging into the ground, back legs kicking in a strange rhythm, horns slicing the air ahead of it. Its eyes burned red, actual visible red, even in full daylight. Dalton slid across the diesel-soaked dirt, rolled, and dodged a swipe that tore up a 6-foot gouge beside him. Luke, he shouted, now. I lit the first diesel trench with a flare. The ignition rushed in a roaring whoosh, an instant wall of flame that twisted in the cold wind. Heat slapped my face. Snow exploded into steam. Dalton crawled back just in time as the wall cut a burning line between him and the creature. The Howler didn't hesitate. It charged through the fire. Fur ignited. Horns glowed hot. Its whole body became a moving shadow wrapped in flame. Dalton scrambled back. Mercer yanked the cutter line. The silo's weakened front frame gave out in a thunderous collapse. Steel beams snapping downward like a falling rib cage. The creature shrieked, not high-pitched, but a deep, grinding roar that sounded like something tearing itself apart. The structure came down on top of it. Beams pinned its legs. A crossbar crushed its left arm. Its right claw scraped concrete, desperate, furious. Flames crawled up the hay insulation inside the silo. Heat built fast. Still, it didn't die. It twisted, bent, tried to tear itself free even if it meant ripping its own limbs off. I saw muscle split, tendons snap, bones push through skin. It wasn't just strong, it was determined. Mercer rushed forward with a heavy hay spear, one of those long, ugly prongs from an old tractor loader. The Howler tried to swing at him with its one free arm, but Mercer ducked low and rammed the spear into its chest. It screamed, louder, broken, almost human in its pain. The spear punched through ribs, but didn't reach the heart. I had to finish it. I grabbed a burning beam, hands screaming from the heat, hauled it up, and climbed onto the twisted frame. Smoke burned my eyes. Embers rained on my coat. The Howler looked straight at me. Red eyes dimming, still fighting, still reaching. "Stay down," I muttered, even though it wasn't going to listen. I drove the burning beam straight into its sternum, pushing with everything I had. The creature's claws scraped at my boot, then froze midair as the beam sank deeper, pinning it to the concrete footing beneath us. Flames roared up its fur. Fire hit exposed muscle. The creature bucked once, twice, a third time, then went still. The light in its eyes flickered like a dying lantern and went out. Just gone. Silence swallowed the valley. Real silence, the kind you feel in your teeth. We sat on the farmhouse porch for a long time after, snow melting on our jackets, smoke still drifting from the silo ruins. Dalton's hands shook so hard he had to sit on them. Mercer finally said, "It's dead," out loud, like saying it made it real. I nodded, yeah. Dalton didn't talk for almost 10 minutes. Then, "We shouldn't do that again." "We will," I said. "You know we will." He didn't argue. When the sun finally cleared the ridge, a dusty government sedan rolled down the gravel road. No sirens, no fanfare, just quiet tires. A man stepped out, plain clothes, no badge, no rank. Didn't even look at the corpse in the distance. He handed me a sealed folder and simply said, "Montana." Then he got back in the car and drove away. Dalton groaned. Nope, absolutely not. I'm vetoing Montana." Mercer exhaled, staring at the snow. We don't get vetoes. I cracked the folder open just enough to see the first photo. A torn open tent, a boot. Blood in the snow, another hunt already waiting. I closed the folder. "We leave in the morning," I said. And for a long time, all three of us just sat there, staring out over the frozen field where the Howler died. Like maybe the quiet meant something.